Hey, I'm Stephen Smith for Tour de West Lafayette. A post-war building boom was created when Purdue University's faculty and staff swelled to accommodate returning veterans on the GI Bill. Homes built then are now considered mid-century modern architecture. Features include ample windows, post and beam construction, and flat roofs. Let's visit some of these homes. We're in the mid-century modern home of Dick and Connie Grace, and they've been kind enough to let us into their house. And you have a unique story in terms of how you came to own this house and how you first saw the home and fell in love with it. Can you tell us about that story?
We were married in 1955, and this house was going up in 1958. And as young newlyweds, we were driving around on Sunday afternoons looking at houses and where we would like to live. We had no idea about architects or architecture, but we fell in love with the house then. It came on the market 20 years later, and we bought it in 1980. It's the look. It's the indoor-outdoor look that just cinched the deal for us. What specific things about Robert Smith's architecture really attracted you? The thing that's unique about this house is the post and beam construction, and that allows for all of these plate glass windows in back of us, and allows for the transparency that goes from indoors to outdoors, and the reverse in the 30s. And we have now, 50 years later, we have a house that has a huge amount of historic integrity to 1958. It was a period of about 20 years immediately after World War II when modernism hit architecture and houses like this were built for the very first time.
Well, Dick, Connie, thanks so much for bringing us into such a cool home with this amazing view. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure to show off this wonderful house.
Yes, thank you so much. We've enjoyed it.
We're here with Jim Songreth at his home in West Lafayette. And Jim, what makes this home unique?
The unique quality of this home is that it was based on the strictest rules of the Bauhaus school in Germany, and it is a no-frill approach to architecture.
And when it's classified as a mid-century modern, what does mid-century modern mean? I mean, behind us, you see we've got some really large windows.
Mid-century modern means that the house is now 50 years old plus, and it was a break in tradition from the Victorian style and is a very clean, strict sense of geometry in its construction.
What was the first thing that really attracted you?
At a very young age, I was always interested in architecture, and those buildings which were different in nature were the ones that I was attracted to. And as an art teacher that retired, I knew that I wanted to live in the West Lafayette area, which is actually a haven of mid-century modern architecture. It was designed by Evans Woolen for Dr. and Mrs. Garretson. And my sister happened to be going down Salisbury Street when there was a heavy rainstorm and turned around, picked up Mr. Garretson, who was out for a walk, drove him to this house, and that's how we actually found this particular building.
And how have you been able to try and decorate this home in a way that matches the style of the house?
What I tried to do was to find architects, designers, and manufacturers who were renowned or noted for the designs that they had created in the late 50s and the 60s. And doing research, found that there was an ample amount of those kinds of pieces that would be the perfect fit for this piece of architecture, such as the chair that I'm sitting in, designed by Pierre Paulin, the French architect, and it was manufactured in the Netherlands in 1960.
Thanks, Jim. We're with George Benda at his mid-century modern home in Happy Hollow. And George, you've lived in the house for about 4 years, and when you first moved here, what was the first thing that attracted you to this home?
Well, I wanted to be in West Lafayette because it's a great community, and driving into this neighborhood, the peacefulness, being back in the park, and the house itself, I thought was really neat being a mid-modern home. I really wasn't looking for that at the time, but as I looked at the property and looked at the lot, kind of fell in love with it.
You've done some landscaping improvements to kind of help bring that outdoors in. What are some of those things that you've done?
Well, initially clearing a lot of the shrubbery that had really was too overgrown for the home, kind of cleaned it up, put a patio in, did some new plantings.
You've got a great view from your living room. There's about a 400-foot drop right outside of one of your windows. What's it like to kind of check that view out?
It's great sitting in the morning having coffee, looking down that valley, especially if you have a big rain. You can actually see the creek at the bottom, and it's pretty enjoyable.
Now on the other side of the living room, there's a special window with a great view as well.
You're probably talking about the fountain that you can see from the living room. That was kind of inspired by Craig Witten, who I had do some of the design work on the patio and the exterior space. And it's kind of a nice view. When you enter the home, you see it, and also just sitting in the living room relaxing, you can also see it.
Now George, we're in a neighborhood, but it almost doesn't feel like it because we're surrounded by trees, not houses. Just how large is this lot?
It's close to an acre, but what makes it feel even larger is it's in the middle of the park. I have the park to the right and the park straight ahead, and my other neighbor to the left is set back, so it's very quiet, very secluded. Sitting out in my patio, I honestly can't see a neighbor.
And that was probably the plan of Robert Smith?
I suspect so. My understanding is this was the first house he built, and he always liked this lot and this home. I even heard a rumor that he had camped out here many nights to kind of get a feel for how and where he would place the home on the lot.
You made a lot of changes outside, and what were some of the things you had to do inside to help restore the home?
Mainly cleaning the home up. It had been neglected a bit, refinishing the cabinets, refinishing all of the doors. I did remodel and upgrade the bathrooms.
Well, George, good luck in your future projects, and thanks so much for showing us your home today.
You're most welcome.